Angela Lansbury spent her final season on Murder. She wrote battling a decision she believed would destroy everything she and her team had built. For 11 years, the show had been a Sunday night ritual. Families finished dinner, turned off their phones, and settled in as Jessica Fletcher unraveled another mystery. It was one of the most reliable institutions on American television, drawing tens of millions of viewers week after week. CBS called it a cornerstone of their schedule, until the network abruptly decided that its devoted audience no longer mattered. What happened to the show remains one of television's clearest examples of a disastrous corporate miscalculation. When CBS chose to move Murder, she wrote from its long-held Sunday night slot to Thursdays, directly opposite Friends. Lansbury was stunned. Then she was angry. The decision crushed the ratings almost overnight, and ultimately ended one of the most successful series in TV history. Lansbury's path to that moment began far from Hollywood. Born in London on October 16, 1925, she grew up surrounded by theater thanks to her actress mother, Moyna McGill. Her childhood was marked by both creativity and loss. When she was 9, her father died of stomach cancer, leaving the family in financial trouble. As the Blitz devastated London, her mother made the difficult choice to escape with her children. At 14, Angela boarded a ship for New York, leaving behind her home and everything familiar. In America, she forged ahead with remarkable determination. Pretending to be 19 at just 16, she looked for acting work while her mother performed on Broadway. At 18, she landed a contract with MGM, and her first film, Gaslight, earned her an Oscar nomination. Another nomination followed for The Picture of Dorian Gray. Yet as she entered her 30s, Hollywood repeatedly cast her as women older than herself. Frustrated, she turned to the stage, where she had the freedom to reinvent herself. Broadway embraced her, and she went on to win a string of Tony Awards for performances in Mame, Gypsy, and Sweeney Todd. By the early 1980s, she was a theater legend, but she felt television remained unfinished territory. When she asked for TV scripts, she received offers for small domestic roles, maids, housekeepers, characters far beneath her stature. Insulted, she demanded something better. Then the script for Murder she wrote arrived. It centered on Jessica Fletcher, a widowed English teacher turned mystery novelist with a sharp mind and unwavering independence. Lansbury read it and immediately understood the potential. This was a character with depth, intelligence, and agency, exactly what she had been waiting for. She accepted the role only after making certain conditions clear. Jessica would not be defined by romance. She would remain devoted to the memory of her late husband, Frank. She would solve crimes through intellect rather than violence. And Lansbury insisted on creative authority over how Jessica was portrayed. The producers agreed because they needed her, and in September 1984, Murder, she wrote, premiered on CBS. The show was a phenomenon almost instantly. Lansbury's warm, clever portrayal resonated with viewers of all ages, particularly older audiences who rarely saw themselves represented as heroes. The mysteries were engaging without being gruesome, and the show regularly featured beloved actors from Hollywood's golden age. By its third season, it was drawing between 25 and 40 million viewers each week. It became the top-rated drama on television and held that position for 9 years, an achievement still unmatched. What viewers didn't see was the toll the schedule took on Lansbury. Producing an hour-long episode every 7 days was nearly impossible, and the grueling pace left her exhausted. She fought for and won an 8-day shooting schedule. Later, when she feared she could not continue, the show shifted some episodes to focus on supporting characters, giving her occasional breaks. She gradually took more control behind the scenes, becoming a producer and eventually an executive producer, shaping the direction of the series. Despite the workload, she remained committed to the show and to its audience. That loyalty, she believed, was mutual. Viewers depended on their Sunday night tradition. CBS executives, however, saw something else. An audience that was older than advertisers preferred. In the world of television marketing, viewers over 50 were considered less valuable because they were assumed to be set in their purchasing habits. Advertisers craved younger viewers, even if they came in smaller numbers. This belief, one Lansbury later called absurd, drove the network's disastrous decision. In 1995, CBS informed her that they were moving Murder. She wrote to Thursday nights at 8 p.m. directly against Friends, then the hottest show on television. Lansbury was incredulous. The show depended on consistency, and she knew many of her older viewers would not follow it to a new night. Confronting the network executives, she asked how they could put the series in what she called a totally non-win situation. They pointed to demographics, spreadsheets, and hypothetical advertising gains. She saw only a betrayal of the people who had supported the show for over a decade. She spoke openly and critically about the move in interviews, describing it as illogical and dismissive. She felt the network was throwing away a loyal audience simply because they were considered too old to matter. Her warnings proved accurate. When the 12th season premiered in its new slot, the ratings collapsed. Viewers were confused or simply refused to give up their Sunday routine. Competing with Friends was impossible. By the end of the season, a show that had been a top 10 fixture had sunk to 58th place. Nothing about the show itself had changed, only its time slot. Lansbury was devastated, not just for herself but for the cast, crew, and millions of fans. In early 1996, she announced that she would not return for another season. If CBS wanted more Jessica Fletcher, they would have to find someone else. The network made no effort to persuade her to stay. After 12 years of extraordinary success, Murder, She Wrote ended quietly in May 1996. CBS moved the final episodes back to Sunday nights, perhaps out of guilt, and the ratings immediately rebounded, proving the audience had never disappeared. They had simply been abandoned. Though the series ended, Jessica Fletcher lived on in several television movies produced between 1997 and 2003, all well received. Reruns found huge success on cable networks, introducing the show to younger generations. The series enjoyed a renaissance as fans discovered, or rediscovered, its warm tone and clever mysteries. Years later, when NBC attempted a reboot starring Octavia Spencer, Lansbury objected, not out of disrespect for Spencer, whom she praised, but because she believed the title should not be used for something entirely different. The reboot was eventually abandoned. Lansbury's criticism of CBS's 1995 decision became a case study of how corporate priorities can undermine even the strongest shows. It demonstrated the dangers of chasing desirable demographics at the expense of loyal viewers, and the consequences of treating audiences as numbers instead of people. Angela Lansbury died on October 11, 2022, just days before her 97th birthday.